It's been branded the World Cup that no one could afford to go to. Price gouging, ticket touting, car park profiteering, train fare inflation. This summer's tournament is shaping up to be the most expensive in history, by far. But if we're expected to spend our hard-earned cash, I think it's fair to find out where this money's going. Okay, so you're an England fan, and let's say you're feeling optimistic enough to get a ticket to the final. I mean, why the hell not? You've got Harry Kane. First off, you're going to need flights and a visa. You're not going to get one thrown in with your ticket like in previous tournaments. You can expect a standard flight into New York City from London 2 days before kickoff, and a flight home the day after to be about 750 quid. Then we get to the small matter of your ticket. Your mates managed to get some in the initial ballot for the final. You didn't, but fear not. There's a new dynamically priced system, and you're in. You may have noticed it's a bit pricier than what your friends paid, a lot pricier actually. The initial ticket was $500, and you've got one in the top tier at $11,000. And just a month out of the tournament, FIFA's released a new batch of tickets for the final. There'll be $32,970, which is actually a snip when there were 4 seats going on resale for a combined 9.2 million. Is that right?
If some people put on a resale market, some tickets for the final at $2 million, number one, it doesn't mean that the tickets cost $2 million. Number two, it doesn't mean that somebody will buy these tickets. Actually, if somebody buys a ticket for the final, $2 million, I will personally bring him a hot dog and a Coke.
Here is New York resident and editor of Guardian Soccer US, Alex Abnos, to explain.
Gianni Infantino had a quote the other day at the Milken conference. This made the rounds because it was just so self-evidently ridiculous.
25% actually of the group stage match tickets who can be bought for less than $300. You cannot go to watch in the US a college game, not even speaking about a top professional game of a certain level, for less than $300. And this is the World Cup.
Every single person, every single American that has lived in the US for any amount of time, that has ever gone to a sports game anywhere in the US knows that is just false. I think FIFA are taking the existence of dynamic pricing, which is true. It does exist in North America, and it is used to raise ticket prices. And they're using that as sort of an excuse to raise the prices as much as possible to generate as much revenue as possible.
Next, you're going to need somewhere to stay, and so does everybody else. You can grab a room in Flushing for around $150 a night, but Flushing's over here, about an hour away from Central Park. You want to be in the action, in Manhattan, so you're looking at closer to $300 a night. An Airbnb is almost double that. And if you're thinking that this was probably a lot cheaper back in December, you'd be absolutely right. That's dynamic pricing, the gift that keeps on giving. Maybe you could stay closer to the stadium, get out of the hustle and bustle of downtown, and avoid those pesky trains. That'll be $11,000 for 3 nights. And even though you'll be able to see the stadium from your bedroom, you still won't be able to walk there very easily. Here are our colleagues from the Guardian US to explain why.
Is it possible to just walk from New York City to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey? A lot of fans have been asking that now that a round-trip train ticket to the World Cup is going to cost $105. Well, I'm going to find out. So I went on Google Maps and I found a route that was 11 miles long and would only take 4.5 hours to walk.
I'm supposed to be over there. This is the wrong way.
But I finally got to the Meadowlands Sports Complex, and that is where the sidewalk ends. It's very tricky to get into, but they're not going to let you get into it anyway. They're closing all the pedestrian access for the World Cup. All right, that's been the walk to MetLife. It took me about 5 hours. I wouldn't recommend it.
And here's what the governor of New Jersey has to say about it.
FIFA is providing $0 for transportation to the World Cup. 0. That leaves New Jersey Transit with a $48 million bill to safely get 40,000 fans to and from every game. At the same time, FIFA is making $11 billion off of this World Cup and charging fans up to $10,000 for a single ticket for the final. I won't stick New Jersey's commuters with that tab for years to come. That's not fair.
So the cash that you now spend on a train has now been used to backfill New Jersey's public transit system, but at least you'll have the comfort of a train. Spare a thought for your mates who've gone to Boston to see England versus Ghana, and they're forking out $90 for a bus ride. Here's Leander Charlekens, the author of The Long Game, to explain.
what we're running into in a lot of these host cities is that the local governments of the cities and of the states are not the same as they were when the tournament was awarded to the United States in 2018. And all of these issues, I think, are downstream from the fact that FIFA has sort of, in almost like a hostile takeover, leveraged this entire tournament for its own benefit.
You do not have to necessarily submit to every single thing FIFA wants you to do in order to extract the most revenue possible out of the tournament. We've seen in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a huge, amazing arena, and FIFA came in, from what I've been told, and said, hey, you actually need to charge way more for all of the beer and all of the sodas and all of the snacks if you're going to want to host World Cup games. And Mercedes-Benz Stadium just said, no, we're not going to do that, because then we would not be Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And they won that. And snacks in Mercedes-Benz Stadium are going to be cheaper than they are for any other World Cup venue.
By FIFA's own projections, they're going to make over $11 billion from just this World Cup. So where's all this extra cash going? What we have to remember is that we think of FIFA like a quasi-government. They make the rules. They host conferences. They get stakeholders together. Sure, there is some of that. But the reality is, FIFA is a rights seller. They are hosting the biggest event, and they're entirely funded that way. The money for the next World Cup will come from the proceeds from this World Cup. And the World Cup is a cash machine. FIFA generated $4.8 billion from Brazil, over $5 billion in Russia, and over $6 billion in Qatar, making up well over 80% of FIFA's total revenue for those respective 4-year cycles. Oh, and by the way, in the US, all this is tax exempt. Around a quarter will be coming from selling hospitality and tickets to you, banking FIFA around $3 billion. That's around 3 times more than in Qatar. So once FIFA has your cash, where does it go? FIFA says it reinvests 90% of its earnings back into football. That's 45% in grants to 211 countries. That's building pitches, coach training, women's and youth football, support for smaller nations. And then 25 to 30% goes into running the World Cup. So prize money for teams, other tournaments, operational costs. 20% is distributed to other federations such as UEFA. And 12% goes to FIFA staff. That's salaries, offices, legal and anti-doping, referee programs. Then you have 10%, which is kept for future cycles or emergencies. Some might call that profit. So that's all the cash you spent on getting to the game. And that's before we've even thought about food and drink. New York City, by most metrics, is one of the most expensive cities in the world. And that's bad news when you're looking for restaurants and a few pre-match pints. These spiralling costs and the political climate means that many foreign fans will be staying away.
It feels like every World Cup introduces its own set of issues, right? And I can't remember, this is going to be my 4th World Cup. I don't remember a single one where there wasn't some kind of problem and some kind of hand-wringing that was happening. It feels like this World Cup is inventing entirely new categories of issues that were previously unknown to man. And there's just so many variables this time around, and there's so little consistency from day to day in the leadership that's overseeing this thing. We are run by a regime that will change on a whim, and that it answers to one man, and that man is going to do what he's going to do depending on the last thing he was told or saw or heard. I mean, aside from the cost of them, aside from the cost of travel and the hotels, will people be allowed into this country? Will people be allowed out of this country, for that matter? Once they get here, will they be allowed to leave? Will it feel like a World Cup? The organizers have kind of been boasting that this is going to feel like 104 Super Bowls in 39 days because it's such a big event, and they're kind of trying to put it on an American scale. But what you see at the Super Bowl, by and large, is that it's only doctors and lawyers and executives who can afford to go to the thing, right? And so is it really going to be that celebration of the sport that we all hope to see, or is it just going to be fully gentrified and a 1% World Cup?
Cities which had expected to profit from the influx of football fans from abroad are now looking to recoup the deficit, particularly from an enormous American domestic market.
Even in a country where the average household income is just under $84,000, that's a ton of money. There just aren't that many Americans that can afford to go to these things, and that's to say nothing of people who'd like to come here from elsewhere and have to pay for travel on top of that.
It is really wild to have this discussion about the biggest sporting event that's happening in the U.S. this whole year happening at the exact same time that affordability and general life stuff is also such a big talking point politically.
But this deficit has already had an impact before the tournament has even started. Only Houston and Philadelphia will be staging 39-day-long festivals, which were promised to FIFA before the tournament. And there we have it. Price gouging, inflation, a volatile domestic and international situation, rampant capitalism, and the sheer scale of this summer's tournament means that you, the fan, will be footing a pretty hefty bill. Some say it's the World Cup that hates you. Don't forget to subscribe to both It's Complicated and Football Weekly on YouTube.